الله بالخير. خريطة جديدة ترسم، لا بالحبر بل بالبيانات والأنابيب والتحالفات. الصين تبني، روسيا تتسلح، والغرب يرتبك. بكين تسميها الترابط والاتصال، أما الغرب فيراها السيطرة. من شينجيانغ إلى المتوسط يتشكل بهدوء نسيج حضاري حريري جديد. وعبر السهول الشمالية تتحدث موسكو وبكين بلسان واحد: الاستراتيجية، الطاقة، الأمن، البقاء، وربما صوت العقل في عالم يجن. معا تكتبان عودة أوراسيا إلى المسرح، حيث السيليكون واليورانيوم أبجديتان جديدتان للقوة. وبعيدا عن قلب أوراسيا تغلي الإمبراطورية، فإن لم تستطع السيطرة على القلب فستشعل الأطراف. انقلابات، عقوبات، ثورات ملونة، أدوات استعمارية قديمة بثوب رقمي جديد. أفريقيا، أمريكا اللاتينية، غرب آسيا، مسارح انتقام ومقاومة. كل من تجرأ على أن ينظر شرقا دفع الثمن. اليوم الوهم الأحادي يخبو، الاحتكار انتهى، لكن الغرب لما يقرأ. فماذا بعد؟ نظام متوازن متعدد الأقطاب أم متاهة تكنولوجية استبدادية؟ نرحب بكم ونرى ونسمع أكثر مع بيبي اسكوبار، الكاتب والمحلل الجيوسياسي المستقل في البعد الأقرب. هذه الميادين، وأنا زينب صفار، خليكم ويانا. Salam and welcome to Al Mayadeen. This is Zainab Al Safa for the Proximate aspect, and my dear guest is Pepe Escobar, independent geopolitical analyst, writer, and journalist. How are you doing, Pepe?
Zainab, such a pleasure to be with you again. I miss you.
My pleasure, our pleasure, sir. We're delighted to have you always. Well, Pepe, allow me to ask you and delve deeply into the matter. Is BRICS the embryo of a new civilizational order, or just a temporary alliance of convenience? What's the proximate aspect in terms of whether multipolarity is structural and lasting? What factors, in your opinion, act as the primary catalyst accelerating the transition into a multipolar world order?
Well, Zainab, it's extremely hard to build a different and alternative international order practically from scratch. And BRICS is the #1 multilateral organization which is facing this challenge head on. There are others, of course, Shanghai Cooperation Organization. We can even call the Chinese Belt and Road as a geopolitical project, not only geoeconomic. But BRICS, especially after the summit last year in Kazan in Russia, started to pick up speed very, very fast. And literally, anyone who's anyone in the global south, they want to be a BRICS member. Well, okay, the excitement is there. The platforms are there. What was announced in Kazan last year, it's very important in terms of a coordination of the new BRICS members with the original BRICS members and the partners as well. So this is we're talking about over 20 nations, like, some of the cream of the crop of the global south. Of course, different systems, different ways of life, different religions, different customs, but they sit at the same table as equals. And their drive is to actually build this new system of international relations in trade, in economics, and geopolitics. As you can imagine, and our audience as well, the backlash from what I call the empire of chaos is absolutely brutal. So we can say that nowadays, with the Trump 2.0 administration, they are at, I would not even say undeclared, but declared hybrid war in many levels against BRICS, which means against a great deal of the global south, the most important powers of the global south.
Right.
But yes, go ahead.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Pepe, you've just come back from your China tour. What are the vibes? What evidence do you present for China's resilience in the face of Western tech sanctions? Or put differently, has China quietly won the war the US never realized it was fighting? I mean, the one over rare earth and semiconductors, supply chains, currency, and time.
It's so impressive. Like, I spent 2 stretches in China this year. The first one centered around Shanghai, and this one in September was something that I was dying to do this trip for years. I couldn't do it before because of COVID. So the first part of the trip was solo. I was retracking the ancient Silk Road, starting from Xi'an, the former imperial capital, Shanghai. And I could see for myself the difference, because the last time I did this trip in detail was almost 20 years ago. So when you compare what China achieved, not in the Eastern Seaboard, which was already developed in the early 2000s, but going inland and then going to central China all the way to Western China, it's absolutely mind-boggling. It's socialism with Chinese characteristics, but working for a development project for the whole nation. And when you see the details in front of you, example, electrification everywhere. The power of Xinjiang, for instance, has so much energy that they sell energy to other parts of China. Solar panels everywhere, wind turbines everywhere. Those solar factories in the middle of the desert. It's something absolutely extraordinary. And when you go to the oasis in the Silk Roads, in the north and the south, and you are in a city that the Chinese called, this is a tier 4 or tier 5 city. They are more modern than anything you find in Europe.
And we're talking about Pepe Escobar, who has been in the 4 directions of the world. But in terms of Xinjiang, today is Xinjiang, the Uyghur region, the West's favorite propaganda battlefield because of its vital hinge of China's westward expansion, linking pipelines, fiber optics, and ideology.
And very, very important, Zainab, we were in Xinjiang shooting a documentary. This is going to be an independent production. They are Westerners, but it's essentially a Chinese independent production. We were traveling with Uyghurs. We are asking our question to Uyghurs. We are spending the whole day, 24 hours a day, everywhere with Uyghurs. We were invited into their homes. We went to their schools. We went to the cotton fields that in the West is peopled with slave labor next to concentration camps. We ate their extraordinary food every day. So we got an inside view of Xinjiang, which very, very few people in the West, especially, they have absolutely no idea. So it's this mix of an integrated region of China, which started to boom in these past few years. And at the same time, it's organic. For instance, I was comparing how Kashgar, the great oasis of the Western Silk Road, was 15, 20, 25 years ago. it was more or less segregated between the new Chinese city and the old medieval Kashgar. Nowadays, everything is seamlessly integrated. And you have Uyghurs, Mongols, Kazakhs, Kyrgyz, Tibetans, all working together. It's extraordinary. It completely debunks the extremely childish propaganda that Xinjiang is an oppressed region and the Chinese are committing war crimes.
Right. We are waiting for your documentary, Pepe. Allow me now to talk a bit about Russia. How
Yes.
has Western involvement in Ukraine impacted Russia's military strategy? What can you tell us about Russia in terms of military today?
Well, for foreigners, and I would say Easterners and Westerners, it takes a long time to understand the Russian mind and how the Russians conceptualize very, very serious problems like matters of war and peace. They are following in Ukraine what they set out to do in February 2022. They have not deviated from the original plan, which is we need a Ukraine that is neutral, not part of NATO, and without a Nazi-style government in Kiev. And for that, we're going to demilitarize Ukraine, which means demilitarizing their backers, NATO, the collective West, and very long term, a campaign of denazification, which explains the behavior, the terrorist behavior of those people in Kiev, where you find neo-Nazi, neo-fascists, all sorts of extreme right and frankly Nazi groups supported by oligarchs, and they want to erase Ukraine's Russian past. So the victories in the battlefield these past few months, especially, they are just, I would say, an extra bonus to what Russia decided to do 3.5 years ago. And they are fighting the whole collective West. And from the point of view of Washington and Brussels, they're winning. And that drives them completely crazy.
Right. As you have been, as a Brazilian, Pepe Escobar, you have been swinging between Moscow and Beijing. Do Moscow and Beijing share a coordinated blueprint for dismantling Western hegemony, or are they simply converging by circumstance?
No. It's very complex, Zainab. Very, very complex. Because this is a comprehensive strategic partnership. It's the official definition on both sides. And that pretty much sums it all up. So it's not only on the level of Putin and Xi, the leaders, or the ministries. It's on a level that the populations themselves, like the Russians, are starting to understand the Chinese better, and vice versa. For instance, now Russians have visa-free travel to China, which is immensely important in terms of the strategic partnership for what Xi Jinping describes correctly as people-to-people's exchanges. So this is not only at the highest level, ministerial, military, energy collaboration. It's in terms of understanding each other's culture and the populations of Russia and China understanding that they are fighting the same fight. They are fighting the BRICS SCO fight, which is towards a new multilateral, multinodal, equanimous world order.
Right. Pepe, in West Asia, Washington is quietly shaping a new regional order, economic and political architecture that could institutionalize Israel's control while trading normalization and defense deals with regional players. Yet, some might argue that the West Asia, this region, is becoming the graveyard of the American empire or the launchpad of a multipolar world. Do you agree, Pepe? And are China, Russia, Iran, and a great deal of the global majority really ready?
Well, it's very hard for us to answer this question now, and I asked this question in my latest column.
Mhm.
Is the global South ready to stare
Exactly.
down the
Mhm.
empire of chaos, which at the moment under Trump is unleashing its impotence, its fury, in fact, considering that the fact that they simply cannot stare down the Russia-China partnership, so they are unleashing their fury over the global South, including West Asia, where they use, let's say, the tail wagging the dog, Israel.
Mhm.
The US-Israel relationship remains the most toxic geopolitically anywhere. And they're getting desperate because not only they have to fight Russia, China, and Iran, a key member of BRICS and the SCO as well, with the strategic relationships with both Russia and China. And Iran is determined not to have Israel as configured as this kind of Sparta or super military fortress, threatening everybody literally in West Asia.
Mhm.
These days are over. So obviously, to make that happen, it would require two things. First of all, the next strategic mistake by the Israelis, which will be another attack against Iran.
Mhm.
And the Iranian response is going to be devastating. And second, they need not only diplomatic and geoeconomic, but military support from both Russia and China. This
Mhm.
is already happening as well. So the situation is evolving all the time. It's pitting for the past few years, and especially after the 12-day war, Israel against Iran, on one side, essentially US, Israel, Europe doesn't even count. Europe, they are not even at the beggar's banquet. They are totally irrelevant geopolitically. And
Mhm.
on the other side, these top BRICS, Russia, China, Iran, and we could include India, which is in a always extremely wobbly position because they're always hedging their bets. They haven't decided that if they are a leader of the global South, if they have a special relationship with Israel and the US, if they want to become an Eastern colony of Western powers, they haven't made up their mind yet.
Mhm.
But considering that they are under attack by the Trump administration, this could have the new BRICS configuration with India back in the fold. And they
Mhm.
were away. Like, Russia was being the middleman between India and China. Now Putin doesn't even need to play this role. The Indians are figuring out for themselves that their future is as an
Sure.
Eurasian power and allied with the other BRICS and
Right.
SCO members.
In terms of West Asia, Pepe, against the backdrop of Israel's effective partition of Gaza and the hardening of the so-called yellow line into a permanent border, how do you see the future of the Strip today?
I hate to say it like this, Zainab, but
Just
bleak.
spit it out, just say it.
Yes, yes, I'm saying it. It's bleak because the control of American political decisions by the what I call the Zionist axis. In fact, this is an axis that goes from Tel Aviv to the East Coast in the US to the West Coast, Atlanticist, including European capitals as well, is ironclad. So basically, Israel dictates American foreign policy in West Asia, and everything is subordinated to Israel's needs, of course. On the other side, we have Iran that is trying to reorganize itself after this war in last June. They are doing it and relatively fast. And they are basically telling via selected channels to the Americans, look, it's not going to be like it was before. And if you want to have any kind of adult conversation with us, fine. Otherwise, we don't even care. We don't even listen to you.
Mhm.
And the Russians and the Chinese right behind it, they support the Iranian position. So basically, we have Iran against Israel in West Asia, but we have the empire of chaos, not only against Iran, but against BRICS and the global south at the same time. So it's an extremely dangerous and volatile situation. And when we consider the president of the United States, who doesn't even remember what he was thinking 5 minutes ago, we can have an absurd decision just like that, that would involve, for instance, another war.
Now, on Brazil, I cannot but ask you on Brazil, what's your take on the impact of US economic measures on Brazil's foreign policy orientation? How might Pepe escalating US-Brazil tensions influence the broader BRICS strategies?
Well, I hope President Lula, which, by the way, is a man alone. There's nobody else to lead Brazil apart from Lula. It's a tragic situation, and he has no successors. So everything that Brazil does depends on Lula. He's still very sharp. He's an excellent negotiator and a master diplomat and politician, but he cannot do everything by himself. The way he handled the Trump tariffs was very, very clever, to the point where Trump, in the end, was trying to talk to him, as they did. They had a meeting that lasted only a few minutes. And apparently Trump promised something to Lula, and he has not delivered yet. And Lula already said, look, what we discussed, and he's not delivering, I'm going to call him again. But Lula is different because Lula is a global figure. And he has a lot of political capital and respect all across the global south and across the global north as well. In Europe, everybody loves Lula. In the US, apart from obviously the Republicans, Lula is also extremely popular. But it's not enough. And the way he's dealing with the Venezuela case, which is extremely complex because his own Ministry of Foreign Relations is Atlanticist and anti-Venezuela. So they even tell Lula, you cannot say the name of President Maduro out loud. So this is completely crazy. So he's fighting his own government in a manner that is vital for the whole of Latin America. The possibility that the Americans would strike Venezuela with, it doesn't matter how. It could be a shock and awe, transferring Baghdad to Caracas, attempts to assassinate the president, sending Navy SEALs to Venezuela. They're considering everything. And Brazil should be much more forceful in defending Venezuela's sovereignty. And so far, that has not been the case.
It's a situation full of tensions, whether inside, internally, or from the foreign U.S. foreign powers against Brazil. We have to leave it there, Pepe, all the way from Bangkok. Pepe Escobar, Indie geopolitical analyst and writer. Thank you for joining us, Pepe, and warmest regards
pleasure.
Always. Thank you.
Thank you, Zainab. Always a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. إذن النظام القديم يتداعى، المخاطر متزايدة والصراع والحروب متعددة المجالات وفي كل اتجاه، لكن الميدان الحقيقي هو خريطة القوة نفسها. روسيا تختبر صلابة الحديد والعزيمة وغواصات وصواريخ وتوربيدات متطورة وتصد تحرشات. الصين تعيد رسم شرايين التجارة والتكنولوجيا بإحكام قبضتها وشروطها على سلاسل التوريد في العالم. إيران تحول الصمود إلى عقيدة وأمريكا تصرخ في الفراغ. فنسأل، هل فقدت إمبراطورية الفوضى السيطرة على عاصفتها؟ هل بات غرب آسيا مقصلة الهيمنة الغربية؟ هل تكتب أوراسيا فصلا جديدا من التاريخ؟ أم أننا فقط نبدل إمبراطورية بأخرى وهيمنة بتوسع من نوع آخر؟ من كل الميادين حياكم.